Fadeout, a Day Brandstetter mystery, Book 1, author Joseph Hansen, publisher University of Wisconsin Press, Terrace Books, 1970, narrator Eric Aust. Chapter 9. She had on a clean cotton house dress today, starchy. The faded pink cardigan over it had been washed so often it had no more shape left than she had. Her hair was combed and her face scrubbed, no makeup. Instead of a wine bottle, there was a Bible in her hand. The big eyes that had been blurry with booze last night were clear now, more than clear, bright. Too bright. Her smile clicked on, so did her voice, also too bright. "It's Mr. Brandstetter, isn't it?" She pushed open the screen. He stepped in. She didn't wear perfume. The smell was of some kind of medicinal soap. "We met last night," he said. "Yes." He knew now what the trouble was. The eyes didn't blink. The voice went on, a recorded message. "I'm an alcoholic. It's a sickness, but I'm winning. Prayer helps me. God helps me." She glanced down at the Bible and then laid it on the telephone stand. "And your children?" he said. "They're wonderful." Her smile was a rictus that belonged with a scream. "Aren't they wonderful? My beautiful boys. I don't know what I'd do without them. And your daughter-in-law? Is she beautiful too?" "I'm so proud of her," Mildred Monday said. "I couldn't have wished for a finer girl for my Phil." "And so rich, too," Dave said. The eyes still didn't blink. The mouth made a big "oh." The tongue clucked. "Why, Gretchen's not rich. Her grandfather, sure, but she works for a living, typist at the United Growers. Money's not the important thing in this life. Love is." For a second, the eyes and voice came humanely, bitterly alive. "I know I was married to a rich man once." She didn't go on. "Money seemed important to you last night. You followed me into a hard rain. After that $50,000, Fox Olson left Gretchen." "I wasn't myself last night." The eyes stared blank at him again. A puffy hand groped for the Bible and touched it like base. Then she started along the hall. "But he's waiting for you. You're nice to come play chess with him, now that Phil's got his own building business along with his job and Fox is dead. But he gets lonesome. I get lonesome too." Dave followed her, the warped floor tiling under his feet. "I don't get to play chess often," he said it loud and clear because the door to Buddy's room was shut. Mildred Monday opened it. Her voice had the terrible fake cheerfulness of a death ward nurse, a bad echo in Dave's mind. "Mr. Branstetter's here, Buddy. Isn't that nice?" "That's nice." Buddy's smile was better than the human average. He sat in his steel tubular wheelchair, the chessboard in front of him. The wooden men in ranks. He wore a red sweatshirt and white corduroy pants and tennis shoes. Wore is the wrong word. They hung on him, as if on a small, broken, drying rack. Last night, wet from his bath, his hair had looked dark. It was fair, a shock of wheat. The eyes were still the color of rain. "Hi, Mr. Brandstetter." The name made for a lot of agonizing jaw work. "Make it, Dave?" Dave smiled and sat down on the kitchen chair, facing the boy. The chair was newly painted, but the rungs were wired and it wobbled. "Just call me if you want anything." Mildred Monday went out and shut the door. "Thanks, Mama." "I hope 4 was a good time." Dave glanced at the television set. "There isn't something you want to watch?" "I just picked my own time. That wasn't very considerate." The boy's fine head did its slow neck-straining roll, while the unexpectedly deep voice spasmed and his mouth labored at shaping the speech. Chess was preferable to TV, though he was grateful to Fox Olson for giving him the set. He didn't watch it much. It was moronic for the most part. He enjoyed reading, and KPIM played good music in the evenings. "Good music? What about Mr. Olson's music? You don't like that?" Buddy meant Bach and Bartok. Sure, he liked Fox's music. Fox used to bring his guitar here and sing it. It was better that way than on the radio, like cheerful conversation, but Fox hadn't taken it seriously himself. He liked Mozart and Mahler. "Did he come here often?" But the boy was eyeing the chessmen. Dave reached for a pawn at each color so they could draw for white. But the white men were ranked on his side, and Buddy said, "Be my guest." Dave pushed his king's pawn, and the boy counted the move. It took time because the small, clean hand kept twisting out of control. But Dave waited, judging that if Buddy wanted help, he would ask for it. Chess was no game to hurry anyway. Yes, Fox Olson had spent a lot of time in this room. He had taken Buddy to films, driven him to his physical therapy sessions at the hospital, replaced his clumsy old wooden wheelchair with this flash one, a standard model typewriter with the electric that was better for writing because you could think about words instead of motions. What did he write? Haiku? He took Dave's knight with the bishop from far corner. Dave groaned. I told you I was a pod, sir. You aren't. You're thinking. In the straining, tormented young face, the eyes were steady. About Fox. Gretchen had told Buddy why Dave was in Pima, that he didn't believe Fox was dead, but had only run away. What about you? Dave asked. What do you think? Maybe. If I could, I would. Buddy glanced at the ceiling, the rows of bright license plates. That how you travel? Dave asked. Buddy gave his loud bray of laughter, but the eyes were sad. It was how he traveled. He lay in bed and thought about the places the license plates came from. He knew a lot about them from reading the national geographies. He had plates from every state, including Alaska and Hawaii. Phil had got them for him over the years, the boy named Sandy at the signal station, whose girlfriend worked for Fox, had contributed a couple, including Mexico. Buddy's first foreign one, the second Fox, had brought Dave, saw it in the ceiling corner, a long black rectangle with white numerals. France. He looked at the boy. Where did he get it? About 2 weeks ago, Fox had came here with a stranger. They had driven into the Mundy's yard under the walnut trees in the man's car, a Ferrari, with French license plates. Fox had introduced the man to Buddy as an old friend, simply as Doug, no last name. Anyway, the man wasn't French. He was American, only he had lived in France for a long time. Something to do with NATO. He was nice. He'd taken Buddy for a ride. They'd driven out the highway. It was the first sports car the boy had ever ridden in. His eyes shone, remembering on the straightaway Doug had opened it up. The speedometer needle had passed 120 before traffic had slowed down. When they got back here, Doug, at Fox's suggestion, had given Buddy the license plate. He pushed a rook. Dave's king was in check. Maybe, Buddy said. Fox went to France. Dave blinked. Why would he go to France? He was happy with Doug. Buddy watched his hand moving like a slow, stunned, naked little animal, setting the white pieces back in place. I told Phil I never saw Fox laugh the way he did that day. A smoldering Valentino in white riding breeches ought to have been waiting in the motel office. It was a silent movie, set slot windows and deep white walls, guarded by grills of black iron, black carved beams, black iron chandelier, floor of square red tiles, tapestry-backed chairs with brass studs and gold fringe. But it wasn't Valentino. It was Ito in a tidy white jacket. He took a registration card out of a green file box and laid it on the countertop, which was inlaid with painted tiles. The name was lettered on the card with a black felt-tip pen, dashing Douglas Sawyer, Los Angeles. Ito said, it was a Ferrari, red. Red, dying sunlight slanted into his eyes, and he narrowed them, watching Dave copy the address and license plate number. A car like that must cost a bundle. Around $15,000, Dave said. Ito whistled softly. Who was this cat? Somebody important? Possibly. At least to me. Dave laid a dime on the counter. May I make a local call? Sure. Ito slid the phone toward him. While Dave checked a number in his address book, he asked Ito, do you know whether anybody else saw him while he was here? You mean came to see him? Dave dialed. I mean, Just what I said. Well, Ito shrugged. Sandy Webb, the kid at the signal station, he saw him. I heard him raving about the car at the bowling alley one night. Sawyer bought gas for him. Dave smiled. Thanks, and Thorne Olson answered the phone. I'm just checking on my memory, he told her. Didn't you tell me your husband once had a friend named Sawyer? Doug Sawyer. Is this Mr. Brandstetter? Sorry to bother you, he said. Yes. Her voice was chilly and impatient. The answer to your question is yes. They were very close friends. They attended art school together, the Province School. And didn't you say Sawyer was a flyer in the war? She sighed. And was killed on a bombing mission over Europe, yes, but I don't see what this can possibly... He cut across her annoyance. Doug Sawyer is alive, Mrs. Olson. He was here in Pima only 2 weeks ago. Your husband talked to him at the Pima Motor Inn. I don't believe it. The registration card is here with his name on it. Your husband was seen going into his unit. But, her voice climbed a step, he would have told me. Fox worshipped Doug Sawyer. Why, if he had... Yes, her tone hardened. Is this supposed to have some connection with Fox's death? Disappearance, Dave said. I don't know. When I do, I'll bother you again. He hung up and looked at Ito. I'm checking out. He turned for the door. You think you'll find Mr. Olson? Maybe. The brown boy was reflected in the thick, beveled glass of the door. Dave told the reflection, one living dead man ought to be able to lead me to another, and he went out and shut the door. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.